If you're just getting started with the VA claims disability process, I'm going to talk today about some of the easiest claims that you can file and win today. But before I jump into those claims, first I want to talk about what makes a claim so easy to win. And quite honestly, it's having a clear in-service connection or event, a diagnosis, and current symptoms. Those are the things that you're going to need to make it easy to win. And you also need to make sure that you have good or great documentation and everything spelled out for the rater. And those things make any VA disability claim easy. So let's jump into a couple examples of claims that are a little bit easier to win than most. Number one is going to be tinnitus. And we all probably know this as ringing in the ears. Most veterans, if you haven't started jumping on this process, you probably didn't even know what tinnitus was, but you definitely have the ringing in the ears. And this is a common one that veterans apply for and get approved because it's presumptive, which means, the VA assumes or presumes that you have this condition or you got this condition from your time in the military. Not everybody that puts in a claim for tinnitus is going to win it. There's a lot of stories out there of veterans trying to push out a claim for tinnitus and they simply just don't get it approved because maybe their documentation is bad. Maybe they have a civilian occupation that they had after they got out of the military that has exposure to loud noises, and maybe based on your articulation and the things that you said during your exam, maybe the doctor just feels like the other occupation could overshadow that of what happened in the military. So that one, you definitely, there are some ways to lose it. But if you have good documentation, you have a good, personal statement kind of explaining, your exposure to loud noises in the military, you talk about your job in the military, your MOS or whatever it is. Those are, good things to have that make this an easy one to win. The second one I'm going to talk about are knee, and back and maybe spine issues or any orthopedic condition that you have. If you have this condition while you're in the military and it's documented, right? Like we all had pain in our, bones, in our knees, our neck, our back, our shoulders. The problem that a lot of veterans run into is they didn't document it. They didn't tell the doctor. They didn't complain about these. And therefore, it is hard to get this one if you don't have that good documentation. But if you do have good documentation, or you at least had, an incident occur, an event, some sort of injury happen to you while you're on active duty, and you went to the doctor to report that. Maybe you got X-rays, and then you obviously that condition still bothered you after you got out of the military, and you can show that you continued to have problems leading up to wherever you are today, and you can put that into into a claim, and you can show that. That's a great one to win. It's a very popular one, and it can be easy as long as you documented that in-service event or that time that you got injured. If it's in your service treatment records, you should be golden on that one. Another one that I think is easy to win or easier to win with the right documentation is mental health. The VA really doesn't take mental health lightly. And I feel like if you have any type of disability that causes chronic pain or you just have some experiences that bother you from your time in the military, I feel like it is easier to put forward the appropriate documentation and put a claim in and win a mental health claim. I want to throw out a caveat that there's a lot of veterans suffering from mental health, and if you are and you're not seeing a medical professional, I encourage you to do that. The VA, it's free. You don't have to be, you don't have to have a service-connected disability to go talk to somebody, especially if you're experiencing, any type of suicidal ideation. I encourage you to do that. Get the help that you deserve on that. But nonetheless, mental health is an easier one to win. And I think a lot more veterans probably have some sort of mental health, mental health. I won't call it a problem or an issue, but mental health that maybe that's connected to something that they experience in the military, or just or a chronic condition that you have, and there's nothing wrong with putting in a claim for that. And the last one that I'll talk about in this before I jump in to talk about what you need to win these is sleep apnea. And this is especially true if you had sleep apnea in the military and you have it documented. In fact, this one's about to change. So if that's you and you had that, please put in an intent to file and go talk to a VSO and get that claim won. Because if you're sleeping with a CPAP machine every night and you can service connect it, that's a high value claim at 50%, all the way up until they change that in the law. So I encourage you to jump on that. If you're watching this video today and you haven't done that, please do that. Take care of yourself. Get grandfathered in before they change that. Now that we've talked about some of the easier claims to win, I want to focus on what you need to win these claims. And this is a very important part, because the VA really only cares about, a lot of people call it the big three. Sometimes I call it the big three. Sometimes I just say it's two, because essentially it's two that are tied together. And what that is, or what those are, is it's a current diagnosis. And it can be from a VA doctor, it can be from a private doctor, but you need to have a current diagnosis. This couldn't be something that you had diagnosed back when you were in the military 10 years ago, and then you don't currently go to the doctor and have that problem now. They need to see a current diagnosis. Now, you can take a chance and put in a claim for something that you had diagnosed in the military 10 years ago and hope that the C&P examiner will diagnose you with that. That is possible, but it's less likely, and I want you to be aware of that. So if you are, or I won't jump too further into that, but I will say, so you need that current diagnosis, and then you also want to connect that current diagnosis to your service by showing evidence of something that happened in the military to you, an event, an injury, or just, complaints in the military. You want to be able to do that. And you want that evidence to be documented either in your service treatment records, a buddy statement that someone, says, hey, I witnessed this veteran, have this incident happen to them. And it could be also be, medical statements. It could be your own personal statement, but those are the things that you need. And it's really important. I talk to veterans all the time who say, oh, whenever I get out, I'm going to file a claim for my knee because I did a lot of PT in the military and, my knee hurts. Well, you know what? If you never told anybody about that and you wait 5 years, then it's going to be a little bit harder. So I encourage you, if you're still in, I want you to make sure you go see the doctor about your ailments. If you're not in, you have to get a little bit more creative, and I kind of you just kind of be a little bit more creative. But if you have those complaints when you were in the military, you can work off of that, and that's perfectly acceptable evidence for the VA. Now, if you're new to this and you're just looking for kind of a path and you're not sure which way to go on, I created a disability worksheet. It's free. Just put in the comments down below Worksheet, and I'll send you a link to it. It's something that I kind of put together just looking at like how I would start all over again if I was starting all over again, and how I would look at this process. And it kind of breaks it down into a couple different tabs. It's a Google Sheets document. If you choose to download it for free, I'll send you a link. You'll get it. You'll make a copy of it. You'll put it in your Google Drive, and it kind of tells you, kind of gives you a play-by-play. A lot of it's really just common sense, but it gives you a place to kind of type in what's currently in your treatment, in your service treatment records, and then it works its way all the way up into like helping you explain or write why you think things are service connected. Give it a try. If it doesn't work, it was free. Doesn't matter. But if you want to check that out, it's perfect for those of you who are new to the VA claims process and you don't know. And really what I want you to do with it is fill it out and then take it to your an appointment with the VSO and kind of show them what your what you came up with, like your foundation, and then let them work on it from there. So that's in there. Just comment worksheet and I'll get you the link. And the last thing I want to say, just advice for you is don't overthink the VA claims process. Just start it, right? Just get in and start it. Use that worksheet that I gave you, that you're going to get. Start brainstorming how you want to do this and what you have to work with, because everyone's situation is different. Put all that stuff down into that worksheet and start figuring out what claims you should be working with, because really any claim that you put in can be easy as long as you have the right medical evidence. Use that worksheet, get with the VSO, get the rating you deserve. And until the next video, I appreciate it.